Pam Bondi and Cash Patel have been quietly at odds for a long time, but that tension has now exploded into an all-out MAGA civil war. Bondi knows someone has to take the fall, and after Dan Bongino clearly wasn't enough, she's now throwing Cash Patel directly under the bus in a desperate attempt to save herself. With accountability closing in, Bondi is going all in to push Patel out of Donald Trump's administration before he can drag her down with him. We're going to break down this internal collapse, but before we do, make sure you leave a like on this video and hit that subscribe button if you enjoy our coverage, because it helps us keep exposing exactly what's happening behind the scenes.
So Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie, who you work with, are weighing impeachment articles against Attorney General Pam Bondi over her handling of the Epstein files. And again, I don't know what sort of protections she has, but you're right. She went on TV and said the files are on my desk, I think in February or something of that nature. Now, clearly, the volume of the files that we know exist couldn't have been on her desk, but she said so. She's the one who said she had the files. So the idea that they missed the deadline on Friday is wild, because they've known since Donald Trump was elected, because his own people said they wanted the files released. Dan Bongino said it. Cash Patel said it. Pam Bondi said it. And somehow they couldn't get it done by the end of December.
That's exactly right. To spend this entire period of time, last few months, claiming that you have the files ready to be released, the president, of course, the entire campaign saying they want to release the files, and then this all-out effort to hide them from the public, to stop the will of Congress, to not answer the oversight subpoena. What they need to understand is that there are hundreds and hundreds of FBI agents and others that are good American patriots that have worked to put these files together. They know what's in them. And I have also a message. I have a message to all of those FBI agents, all the good Americans that want transparency and justice. We, of course, are interested in talking to you. If you are a whistleblower at the FBI, at the Department of Justice, if you know and worked hard to put the files together and are seeing your work now being hidden by your own Department of Justice, contact the Oversight Committee. We have whistleblower protections. We want to make sure that the truth gets out, that the survivors are protected, and we are hearing from folks across our government who have seen or know what are in these files, and we want you to know that you will be protected. We want that information, and the American public deserve the truth.
Every Democrat should be saying this clearly and without hesitation. If you are doing something as small as getting Pam Bondi a cup of coffee, you are involved and complicit in this criminal cover-up, because this is not a single isolated moment where Pam Bondi broke the law and then everyone moved on. Pam Bondi is actively breaking the law right now, and so is everyone else involved at the DOJ, because there is no possible way she is redacting these files on her own. There is an entire team of Trump loyalists working together to protect him, to hide the truth, and to obstruct accountability. And every single person involved in that process should be held responsible. Anyone who has touched these files should be prepared to blow the whistle and tell the truth, because this is not a one-person operation, and it never has been. And ironically, that same reality applies to what they're trying to hide about Epstein's criminal network, which was never a solo operation either. Just months ago, if you had asked Cash Patel about that, he would have told a very different story. And now Pam Bondi is using his own words to suggest he perjured himself and to push him directly under the bus, which is exactly why we need to look at this clip first.
Released it. And let me follow up on Senator Kennedy's question, because he asked you, and I'll be very precise here. You've seen most of the files. Who, if anyone, did Epstein traffic these young women to besides himself? And you said, himself, there's no credible information, none. If there were, I would bring the case yesterday that he trafficked to other individuals. And Kennedy, the information we have, again, is limited. And Senator Kennedy said, the answer is no one. And you said, for the information we have. So is it your testimony today that in all the Epstein files, that Jeffrey Epstein trafficked no one to anyone but himself? Is that your testimony, Mr.
I never said Jeffrey Epstein didn't traffic anyone else.
Did he traffic any young woman to someone other than himself? That was Mr. Kennedy's question,
And I
Senator Kennedy's
said
question.
the information that 3 administrations have had access to
I'm
have
asking
made
you-
determinations that there are no investigative leads that were credible to prosecute and investigate any others. I'm specifically
I'm asking
stating
you whether
we
it's
were
your
working on.
testimony today.
Well, you just read
that
it, and I said it 10 minutes ago, so let the record reflect my testimony.
I just want to make sure there's no misunderstanding, because there are victims like Virginia Guifer who have testified otherwise, who have said otherwise, and you're telling the American people today that the Epstein list is a single name and it's Jeffrey Epstein. That's what we're to believe?
That's not what I'm saying. That's what you're saying, and
Well,
you can say whatever you want.
It is important to understand when we talk about this cover-up that it does not involve only Donald Trump, and not just because he personally benefits from protecting it, but because his entire pattern of behavior shows that he consistently shields criminals when they are useful to him. If you are a billionaire predator, a war criminal, or a corrupt power broker, Donald Trump has shown time and again that he is more than willing to stand by you. Jeffrey Epstein fits that pattern, just like Benjamin Netanyahu, just like the business criminals Trump surrounds himself with, including Elon Musk. Trump knows that if the full scope of Epstein's criminal network and accomplices is exposed, it creates a direct path back to him. That is why the lie that Epstein acted alone was so important to maintain. Cash Patel previously tried to push that narrative, insisting there was no broader conspiracy, no other players involved. But now Pam Bondi appears to be changing that story, and that shift is extremely telling. It suggests internal panic, competing cover UPS, and an effort to redirect blame before everything unravels. Midas Touch highlighted this moment because Bondi's own words contradict the earlier denials and expose the fact that this was never a one-man operation, either in Epstein's crimes or in the attempt to hide them. Bondi wrote, "The Department of Justice previously stated, we will bring charges against anyone involved in the trafficking and exploitation of Jeffrey Epstein's victims. We reaffirm this commitment and ask any victim to come forward with any information pertaining to any individuals who engage in illicit activity at their expense. We have met with many victims and victims groups and will continue to do so. If more reach out, please contact myself, Deputy Attorney General Blanche, or the FBI, and we will investigate immediately. We believe in an equal standard of justice in the country and will ensure that justice is being served." Midas Touch responded to this post, writing, "Why did the FBI director say this?" Reuters reporting that FBI Chief Patel says no credible information as we saw others involved in Epstein's crimes. Pam Bondi is clearly scrambling because she knows accountability is unavoidable, and everything she has done so far proves it, from the blacked-out pages to the fully redacted images that say nothing while revealing everything. Carolyn Levitt can post all day about Bill Clinton, but the silence around anyone else tied to the Epstein files is deafening, and the targeted nature of this release couldn't be more obvious if they tried. What's stunning is not just the cover-up, but how incompetent Trump's administration has been in executing it, allowing the narrative to completely swallow them when Donald Trump is usually very good at controlling the conversation. This time he failed. The power shifted, and Pam Bondi's attempt to clean up the mess for her boss only made it worse. In a release full of nothing, the few accidental references to Donald Trump become exponentially more damaging. And while his name may not show up in a simple DOJ search, it certainly appears when you actually look closely at the images. That's why Trump is panicking tonight, why Pam Bondi is panicking, and why she's in serious trouble, because instead of protecting him, she exposed just how deep this scandal goes.
And demanded that it be removed immediately. So there would only be a handful of people who would have that kind of power to override what had been disclosed before. And there wouldn't be that many people who would be I would say irrational enough to think that that wouldn't be noticed. But beyond that, it's hard to know who's behind it.
All right. Well, let's talk about the law, which was signed by the president on November 19th, requiring the DOJ to release all unclassified Epstein materials within 30 days. And yet, DOJ admits It's only a partial disclosure. There's more to come. And many of these documents were heavily redacted. I had my colleague print out some of them here. I mean, for those of you who haven't seen this, okay, this is Grand Jury New York. Oh, that's good. Yeah. Another one from Grand Jury New York. Let's just do one more. Grand Jury. They're all like that. 119 pages worth from the New York Grand Jury file, completely blacked out. Is this release a violation of the law? Could it be obstruction? And how do you interpret these redactions and whether they cross the line into unlawful concealment?
It's absolutely a violation of the law because they were supposed to have turned over 100% of all the materials. And we know that they'd been through them before because they told us back in July that they had thoroughly scrutinized all of the materials in the file and could not find any basis to think that there would be evidence upon which a prosecutor could make any other criminal cases. So we know they'd been through it. They'd also summoned something like around 1,000 FBI agents to pore over all those materials to look for Donald Trump's name and to redact his name and to bring to his attention whatever pictures, images, mentions, emails, texts there were. So they'd already been through it. It should not have been difficult for them to produce it according to the federal law, which was passed overwhelmingly by Congress and which Donald Trump purported to support.
It is an obvious cover-up. It truly could not be more obvious. And we're going to continue calling it out every single day on this show. If you want to support that work, hit subscribe, drop a like, and if you made it to the end, leave a blue heart in the comments. Until next time, I'll see you.